Hey there, everyone. I don't have my current setup as I am out traveling right now, visiting with Stock Mode, doing some collaborative work with him, and I'm pretty darn excited about that. I do want to talk about what we're seeing in the charts for the pre-market and give some commentary this morning, especially leading up to that Fed meeting. So let me put the charts up here for you. Here we're looking at, let me actually start with the SPY, and in the pre-market hours up at 548, whereas when we closed yesterday, we closed it down at 542. Microsoft and AMD putting some excitement back in the markets about continued AI demand, which is great. And when we look at the Qs, we have an excellent move there. We closed yesterday at 457, today up to 467. And so is IWM, the small caps, are they joining the party? Well, when we look at the Russell 2000 stocks, you can see the ascending triangle pattern we have. This is an intraday chart. This is the hourly chart that we're looking at. But they're not moving so much from what we saw yesterday. And what is it about the Russell 2000 stocks that keeps them from moving the way that SPY and QQQ are? This morning, why aren't they receiving the good news in the same way? And that is essentially the Fed meeting that you have. Jerome Powell coming out and speaking at 2:30 today. We get the Fed interest rate decision. There's like a 3% chance or so of a rate cut, 97% chance of near certainty that there will be no cut taking place. And it is my opinion that if we did get a rate cut this early, that wouldn't necessarily be a great thing for it. So let me zoom in here for you. If we do break up above 226, by the way, we could, if we break out, I should say 224 to 226, where we have resistance. That's that red rectangle you see in there. You can see we can break up to 234 off of that news. That's if we can break up above 230, and I think that we should do it on relatively good momentum. Matter of fact, we might even see up above 234 if the market likes what we see from Jerome Powell. I think the small caps stand to benefit the most out of that. Bitcoin's hanging in there right now, just south of the channel right now, north of 65,000. That's exactly where we want to stay. If there's going to be further upside, maybe this is a peekaboo moment that we get from Bitcoin. We're just going to have to watch and see. The Fed is also going to impact most likely what we see from Bitcoin's price action as well. And remember that those lower rates, cheaper money to borrow, makes it easier to profit in the markets as well. And it's a similar story to what you would have with those small caps. AMD and their earnings, awesome. So in the pre-market hours here, we actually see a bit of a bull flag shaping up. They might actually push higher. 150 to 154 is where you're going to find major resistance on AMD. If we're able to get up above 154, we should be in good shape for further green. Up above that should send us back up into the 160s. 154 is about where we see, let's go to the daily charts, where we see about that 200-day on there. So you want to be looking for AMD for where we find that. You can see I have the resistance band that's in there right now, and that we're currently right at the bottom of that. So that's something that we want to be aware of, that we want to be watchful for. If we're able to break back up above that 200-day, that could be a bullish thing for us. And then we're looking for about 160, where we find the 50 EMA and SMA, maybe a little bit south of that. By the time that we get there, we're going to have to see. But we did get excellent news. The next big resist that we get from them is north of that, right up around 170. So it looks like we're going in about $10 increments for AMD. Nvidia, loving this so far. In the pre-market hours, trading just south of 112, which is minor resistance at 112. Much more major resistance when you get in the 115 to 118 range, especially right around 116. So keep in mind that major resistance that we have. Although, given the Fed meeting and further big tech, this could be the next thing that sets our trajectory. And here's my Nvidia stock price prediction. This could be the week that sets the Nvidia trajectory to get us back up to retesting that all-time high of 140. If the rest of big tech like Meta today in the after hours reports, and it tells us something that we absolutely want to hear in terms of continued AI demand. AMD helped us out, Microsoft helped us out, and now we need Meta, Apple, Amazon to also help us out in that pursuit. And it's a possibility we want to pay attention to that. If they tell a different story than what Microsoft said, we're not necessarily in the best position to stay where we're at right now. We need to retake the 50-day EMA and SMA, which is still just south of 116, well, around 116 up to 118. Retaking those is going to be absolutely huge for further upside. And we do have this trend line that I have drawn on here for you, which we want to pay attention to. If we do go to the upside, if we break above the 50s, we could ride along that. If we don't hear things about continued demand, although I don't think that that's going to be the story we hear, but if that's what we do hear, then that could be something where we find that rejection right around 116, and then we start to look for bottom again. So bullish on Nvidia short term, and also for the long term. I would like to see more depressed prices just for better buying opportunities, But I think for right now, we could be starting to see the early parts of that upward trajectory to their earnings on August the 28th. So for Tesla in the pre-market hour is not doing so bad. It's going to hesitate like the small caps will when we're looking at this. And let me actually go down to an intraday chart for you so you can see a little bit more of what I was talking about with some of these other technicals that are on screen. And I apologize for not having my typical equipment. We're on the bottom side of this bull channel that we had on a very short-term basis, just going back to Thursday of last week into today. Fell out of it, bonked our head on it. Now we're kind of trading sideways. It's going to take the Fed to tell us what direction that we're going to go around 230-ish. So we're going to be watchful for that for Tesla. Now for Meta, going into their earnings, they are at the bottom. They're at support right now with the 200-day support just south of that, right at about 430. So for Meta, I do anticipate that we're going to have strong earnings from them. I think that this could be a time that it sends us back up. We're going to have to see. Maybe it is more like a Microsoft moment that we drop down below that. If we lose the 200-day and retest that 200-day and fail to break back up above it, that 50 EMA and SMA aren't too far away. We could see that death cross coming up instead. So Starbucks, this is a bonus for you guys who stuck around this long. Starbucks is one that I said for weeks now, if we break up above this resistance line, that this could be a bullish thing for Starbucks. And they did miss on the revenue and their earnings, but this is one that they kept their guidance for the full year, which means that this could be a low point for them. So we're going to have to look and see. This is part of a massive head and shoulders pattern that hasn't confirmed yet. So we don't know if there's a further drop coming, but this is, if we do hear about further talk of recession coming up, that is something that could impact the price that we see. But this is just absolutely nasty as we look at this take place. And it goes back all the way from 2019 until now. So this is 5 years long that we're looking at what could potentially happen for Starbucks. And we're looking for what happens with this breakout to the upside that we could be seeing in the pre-market hours into the regular trading hours today. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Let me know what you think down in the comments of this. If you guys want to see my buys and sells and how I'm playing this market, check out the link for the Patreon down in the description. And if you want to learn to do technical analysis trading like I do, there's also a link in the description for that. Go down, click, sign up, and get access to that technical analysis trading course. Thanks for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.